Welcome back to Fullerton College Print Department's Print 145 Variable Data Printing. I've said print too many times in that sentence. But today we're going to take a look at XMPie's uImage feature, which allows you to create dynamically altered images in Photoshop that then place themselves, according to data rules, of course, that we set up, into InDesign documents. Of course, this could also be abused for other purposes of just generating a ton of images if necessary. So let's take a look at it. First, I've decided to start with the most distracting image on my computer. This guarantees I have your full attention for this particular video because there is nothing more distracting in the world than the Goodyear blimp. It's the best distraction ever, and here it is. On your screen already. Why need to look away? Not that I'm worried about you guys. Anyways, we're going to put a name on the blimp. Other than me putting money into the Goodyear account and requesting something, which I swear I'm going to do soon now that I found out it's not that expensive. For something so crazily high profile. Anyways, we're going to put a name on the bottom of this blimp. And there are multiple ways to do this as far as graphically speaking, but we're going to show you the way that's going to work. So don't judge me too harsh. I'm making it simple. Let's take a look at this. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to create a text box here in Photoshop, which is the letter T for text. The letter T for text, or you can click on the T on your toolbar. Click somewhere in the image, and it will already start out by saying lorem ipsum, which you guys have been around long enough to know is a general placeholder text for printing that lets you see words and word spacing as opposed to just gibberish letters of banging your head on the keyboard, which is itself still a better love story than Twilight. Let's take a look. So we're going to make this a little bit bigger. Command T will let you transform, and you can also go to Edit Transform. Let me scale this thing up bigger. I'm going to make mine a little bit less obvious than I would in the future, but just for this one, we're doing it out of gray. So I have the thing made. I'm going to rotate to about the right size and place where I want it on the underside of my blimp here. And now I'm going to start by putting in the code. I'm also using Babus, not that you have to, but this is a typeface I like. I discovered it a bunch of years ago when I was asked to create some graphics and kind of I think it was for employees, a daily, weekly planner with a ton of international holidays, which, believe me, is a pain to put all those in because pretty much every day of the year is at least one holiday to somebody somewhere in the world. Why can't we eat all the treats? I wouldn't mind that. But anyways, that was a lot of work, but it was for Forever 21. And it took me a while to figure out what typeface they were using because this was a while ago and it was less well known. I was like, this is not exactly Futura, and it's not exactly Univera, and it's not exactly Helvetica. What is this strange sans serif? But I kind of like it. It's called Babus. Babus is cool. Anyways, we'll use it for this one, and I'll show you why in a moment. So we're going to need to consult our record sheet for this one. I'm going to jump over here and take a look at our data list that we've been using, the data list combined, because we're going to be creating a data entry point. And unlike XMPie in InDesign, where you can kind of override the text at will, over here in the uImage side using Photoshop, we have to be a little bit more pedantic about what we're doing. So what I'm going to do is take a quick preview to see what the names of the columns are. We need to make sure that the placeholder point that we are putting onto our photo matches precisely one of these. I was just going to do first name for this first example. A lot of lists would just call that first or name. This one is called first underscore name. And it's important that I get that exactly the same or this won't work. Now I jump back into Photoshop and I'm going to go ahead and type first underscore name. And Babus doesn't have a lowercase, but it would be lowercase if it was there. So there we have it, first underscore name. But there's something else you need to know about this. For the uImage, because of how Photoshop works, as we saw in Photoshop, when I lay out text, I click somewhere and I start typing, kind of like an Illustrator. It just lets you have a start point and continues to build the text frame around the text as you type, as opposed to InDesign where you create a box and the type fits in the box and the type goes in the box. It stays in the box. Here, it works differently. So what that means is if we're going to use anything like dynamic story properties type stuff, which does happen in this, we're going to have to make sure we tell it where it can start and where it must stop, or else it's just not going to do it. We do that with greater than, less than. So we do less than to start it and greater than to end it. If you want it to take up more space, you can add periods, ... before and after it to allow it to go to more space. I'm not going to, because first underscore name is a long enough data point that it doesn't need the help. So now we can do a few fun things to this here in Photoshop just to make it look like it fits. Because right now I have put the words first underscore name on the side in text. And honestly, if you're not already asking, why don't you just do this in InDesign? You should be asking that, because this could be done in InDesign so far. What I have showed you has nothing to do with Photoshop's unique capabilities yet. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take this, and I'm going to do a few fun things to it because I like doing things. I'm going to take this and I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Warp. Cue Rocky Horror Picture Show music now. Okay, so the type I'm going to do is not arc. I'm going to use an arch for this one. And right now this looks horrifyingly wrong, but let's fix that by switching the angle, or the axis of the warp. Now I'm warping it along the shape, the contours of the blimp. So from here, I'm going to want to do probably less of a warp. I'll fiddle around. Let's try 30% warp. It's probably about, yeah, 30 looks about. Maybe even 25. Yeah, that looks better. That looks like it actually belongs in the blimp and kind of follows the general shape. Doesn't have to be 100% precise, he says, making it more precise compulsively, because dang it, I'm a model maker and this sort of thing bothers me. So we have that in place there. Another thing that's fun to do with this is change the spoilers, change the layer blend mode. Normal is so normal. I'm gonna go for multiply. Ooh, that's a little bit too heavy. But I can then reduce the opacity on that multiplication, where now the name is a darkened spot painted on the side. And for stuff like this, even a blimp has texture. I know it's not a full-on airplane with rivet holes and lines where the pieces of metal join up next to each other like on a plane or a ship or a boat or cars or buses. But even on a blimp, the materials it's made out of, the rubberized fabric, still doesn't come in a full blimp size. They don't knit the thing in one piece. It's made out of strips. You can kind of see the stitching lines going through there. So this lets the stitch line still be visible, which makes it look like it's more in there. Again, we will do more robust effects in future projects to make things look like they're carved out of wood or chiseled in stone. The stuff that I find a lot of fun to do with this. You can't see me, but I'm smiling big right now. Anyways, so there we go. First name is now on the side of this thing. I'm going to do one more thing to this, which I'm not going to make you watch the whole thing of, because I want to make more interesting use of this here blimp, and I want you to too. So hold on a second while I do my Martha Stewart style swap out and pull a fully baked turkey out of the oven. That's right, I reached for my old trusty Bezier pen tool and trace this thing out. I'm going to make my selection. Yep, invert my selection and delete. This gives me a traced out blimp. Let's go ahead and save this blimp.psd. And now we're going to go over to our other friend InDesign and get this set up with the code style. So over here, you create the graphic and the placeholder that's going to become the names as they go in. Names, I shouldn't say names, it's names in this case, the data points as they're going to go in. Now we're going to jump to the other side and set up the necessary code to build this. The good news is, although it's built off some very complex code, they've built it as a kind of pre-existing module, which saves us a ton of brain work. Although you guys are bright, we could figure this out. I'm glad we don't have to. So now here we are back in InDesign looking at our county image postcard, the one where we made where the county images or the background image changes depending on what county you're in. We're looking at my home county, the one I grew up in, LA County. Hooray, I guess. Right? Anyways, we're going to go ahead and build the content object necessary to make this happen. Guess what? I need to make sure I'm sharing. So let's switch back over here. Here we are in InDesign, looking at the LA County image for our county postcard. Over here, I'm going to create our content object that's going to let us put that blimp into the pictures. Yeah, by the way, one of the reasons I chose a blimp, you could put it in the background of every one of these pictures and it just works. It's a blimp. It can be where it wants. It's one of the reasons I like it. Let's take a look at this fun little dealio and how we can make this work. So again, we're going to do a new content object, just like we did when we made our county image. New object. And we're going to call this blimp. I know, excuse me, type for me, blimp. I know, real original, right? The type is graphic. And this is going to be name on blimp. And now down below, we have graphic equals, and we're going to go through this menu until we find ourselves uImage photo. Now, package, you can purchase some pre-made, pre-built uImage photo things from XMPie's website. And some companies will do that. Then you can make promotional stuff. Like one of the reasons you often see some similar images like names on golf balls showing up all over the place is because that's one of the ones you can buy. And not everyone wants to spend the time, even if they have the energy and the creativity, they may not want to spend it to make individual images for everything. So or you might want to start with something that's pre-built and modified. But we're going to use template. I'm going to show you a little bit of coding that we have to do here, but don't panic because most of the hard work of the coding's behind the scenes, under the hood. We don't have to look at it, but we do have to make a few choices for it. Template. The first thing you do is you choose what it's going to use for its image. So we say browse, and I already have this called up for us. We'll choose blimp.psd. Output folder. This is going to make a ton of pictures. You have to choose, kind of like the assets folder, where it's going to go. I've built one for myself called blimp.var. Whoops, you can see the stuff in here already. You busted me. I tested it before the video because I'm tired of things failing. Anyway, so blimp.var for variable, and that's my output thing. Now, what I did when I made transparencies, you guys have been in my classes before. Does JPEG support transparency? PNG does. Copy fitting, just like your dynamic text, you can say if you want to overflow, don't do it. You overflow and underflow. I'm not messing with manual, especially not in a video I only have 3 minutes left in. And we're going to go to the available fields down below. You have to tell it what to look for in the image. So we're going to look down here, and we chose first name. So I'm going to take first name, I click add, and that moves it over to the uImage tag. This means that when it goes to make these images, it's going to look for first_name in that picture, and it better find it. And okay, and that's it. That's the whole deal. We say okay, and it creates the content object. Next, I'm going to build a box up here for it. Frame, sorry, I shouldn't use the slang for it. You create a frame, double click on blimp, and oh my gosh, it looks wrong. Well, actually it doesn't. It's huge and it's not fitting well yet. The good news is it didn't drop a placeholder or a warning sign, it dropped an image. For that, I'm already relieved. I use my keyboard command to tell it to fit in frame proportionally. So there it goes. It's inside the frame. It's proportional. If we zoom in, we can see Leota's name on it. Now, I did make one mistake on this thing, which I could correct or you could correct in the future, which is my text is left aligned. And for uImages, oftentimes, especially this one in particular, oftentimes centered is the way to go. Center justified. Center that text. That way it'll be in this place you want it, not starting at the farthest left place and slowly going. Let's scroll through here. Whoa, we have an issue with, you can see that sample. We have an issue with this county, whichever one I'm on currently, is not showing. And you may want to play with the placement of this thing to make sure that it's always in the sky in these pictures. Whoops, that was moving the inside, not moving the outside. Put it up here, and as we move around, the person's name appears on a blimp in the sky above whatever county they happen to live in. And there you go. That is creating uImage photos that can be placed in. We'll get into more complicated ones in the rest of the semester because honestly, that's to me where the fun part lies in XMPie is doing these. Creating interesting, creative ways to sneak names and things into images. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'll be available to answer your questions live. Thank you much.